Ladies and gentlemen of the old world, I hope you're all doing well, and today my friends are back with the Chaos Dwarf vs Bretonnia showdown. It's going to be myself with Foghorn Leghorn and the DREADQUAKE mortar facing off against Hadries, who's going to be coming in with the Fey Enchantress, a Paladin, Henri La Massif, and the big stinky hordes of Bretonnia. Yes, it's going to be the Battle Pilgrims, Grail Reliques, Men-at-Arms, all the good stuff. Now, I do think this is one of the matchups in which the DREADQUAKE mortar is unironically quite good. I think, generally speaking, the DREADQUAKE is a bit of a meme if you compare it to like Queen Bess, which only costs 1,600, for example, and pretty much does the same thing. This thing's 2,300. You can't control when it shoots. It just kind of shoots on its own. So you can choose what you're shooting at, but if you want to save ammo and they're like throwing units in front of it, like peasant mobs or whatever, it's just going to shoot. The fire at will mechanic doesn't work on it, which is really haggard. But I do think on a map like this, like Itza or maybe like Gates of Ekron, one of those like smaller maps we have, that it's really, really, really excellent at clearing out just hordes of Bretonnian infantry, and also can be impactful against the cavalry in close quarters fighting. So for example, if you have the DREADQUAKE sitting right here and the Cav is fighting over in this direction, they're going to be able to shoot them and do nasty, nasty damage. So for our build, it's going to be Goblin Laborers backed up by the Chaos Dwarf blunderbusses. These guys are pretty metal. They have good enough combat stats to fight most Bretonnian infantry up close, and if they're allowed to shoot their blunderbusses, they will melt whatever they're shooting. So I do like to get a couple of these guys backed up by Infernal Guard Fireglaves, and these guys are just the MVPs. They hit very hard. They, of course, have halberds up close against the cavalry and are just absolute menaces. And Foghorn Leghorn is just so strong. He is just super overpowered. I certainly think he needs to lose like, I don't know, like 1,500 HP, maybe like 1,000 mass and some other stats. He is just gross. But again, very much a staple of competitive play. And if you're going to be doing something which is a little bit kind of on the edge of being functional, like a DREADQUAKE mortar, you might need Astragoth to carry the game. So we'll see how it goes. And yeah, that's pretty much it for my build. It's going to be a gun line backed up by Laborers, Foghorn, and the DREADQUAKE. And the first DREADQUAKE shot is going down. Nails the peasant mobs, gets about 20 value for my army. Good times. But peasant mobs, battle pilgrims, this is very normal for Bretonnia. Just rank and file swarm, and then you bring out cav after that, right? Because it takes longer to get the infantry in position, and the cavalry you can summon out at any point in the game, and they can appear and be impactful. So typically, I think starting with the infantry and then coming out with the cavalry and bringing the cavalry based on what your opponent has once you see their army is much stronger. And just going generalist infantry and all that sort of good stuff. I really like the Trebuchet pick from Hadries. I think that's a nice tech against Infernal Guard Fireglaves and blunderbusses. And oh, here comes another shot. Nice one right there as it nails those units as Battle Pilgrims actually end up taking a considerable amount of damage. It looks like there's an aftershock effect on the DREADQUAKE as well. But yeah, I mean, if you're paying 2,300 for an artillery piece and it hits, it should do a hell of a lot of damage. I mean, it really, really should. So the DREADQUAKE is going to be continuing and making those really, really cool sound effects. Bretonnian trebuchets shooting in and nailing my poor Chaos Dwarf blunderbusses as my Laborer front line prepares to meet the peasants. Both sides have peasants, and we do have Chaos Dwarf Warriors coming up. So I like the standard rank and file Chaos Dwarf Warrior in this matchup. They will defeat most of the infantry, and they might struggle against Foot Squires, but they'll trade into Battle Pilgrims well because of their high armor. And if they have to fight Bretonnian cavalry, at least they do have armor piercing. That's kind of my school of thought. So they're moving up. There's going to be some cav on the flanks. We got Knights of the Realm coming in, and I'm just spreading out my guns. You'll notice I'm moving my Chaos Dwarf blunderbusses to like adjust for the Knights of the Realm coming on this side, and also the Fireglaves. They're going to be parked between the two objectives. So another DREADQUAKE shot, baby. Let's go. This is what you're all here for. This is screw the tactics and the battle and all that stuff. It is DREADQUAKE in time as we do hit pretty well there. And yeah, it does a bit of damage. It does slow them down. Foghorn Leghorn going to be getting in here with the Chaos Dwarf Warriors and just getting ready to screen out. The Chaos Dowie infantry should be able to put some hurt on these bad boys. Also, shotgun blast coming in. A little bit of friendly fire. Look at that. You got to love it. But the blunderbusses, for the most part, do nail those peasant mobs down. He attempts to use a Chalice of Potions on me here, but we are able to dodge that. And it is blunderbuss in time over here. Oh my god, look at the blunderbusses. They're so cool, dude. They're so cool. Battle Pilgrims like get staggered so hard. Why would you bother with Granite Guard? Who needs suppression when they pretty much just suppress with their shooting? So another wave of fire is going to be going down, and those poor Battle Pilgrims, their shields are certainly not saving them from those shotguns, but they actually take it like champs. But at this point, the Chaos Dwarf blunderbusses should be able to win this fight 2v1, which is kind of the idea, right? Over here, Fey Enchantress and company, doing some scary work. So the two Paladins and the Fey Enchantress do force back Foghorn Leghorn. I drop a fat Flamestorm right there, which does some okay damage, and you can see, once again, the Chaos Dwarf blunderbuss is really packing quite a punch. Another shot from old Queen DREADQUAKE mortar. Certainly hasn't been bad. On the far side, we do get Bull Centaur Renders coming out. So they're a staple against Bretonnia. You have to have them here to really deal with many of the cav units. So the Bull Centaur Renders, once my micro picks up here, we'll be jumping over to go after the Knights of the Realm. And we do have the Infernal Guard Fireglaves, who are going to be lending a little bit of fire support. So here, Fey Enchantress does extend, and I did miss it. I look away for 1 second. So Foghorn got some big damage on her, but then she gets a little bit too close to the blunderbusses, and a huge shotgun blast to the face is going to be sending the Fey Enchantress running for the hills. So she's going to be packing up her goods and running, and those blunderbusses almost able to finish her, but it looks like she does get away, and she is faster than Foghorn. He is He is, not the fast. I mean, he's pretty fast by dwarf standards. He's got, I think around 60, a little bit less than 60 speed once his armor procs. But yeah, Enchantress is going to get hunted, but she will be coming back as the two paladins are going to get there. And don't worry, the dreaded Enchantress will return. So we're up pretty considerably in value. Granted, Bretonnia does have healing, and most of the damage, a lot of the damage has been on the Enchantress. Here, the Bull Centaur Render's going to be eating a charge from the Knights of the Realm, but they're in a weird formation. They weren't like fully spread out, so they might not all make the best contact. But even still, the Bull Centaurs do take some decent damage as our laborers here do continue fighting against the Men-at-Arms. Thankfully, we do have the Fire Glaives from downtown, which are providing a little bit of fire support. And Orc laborers also aren't bad at fighting Bretonian cavalry. They do have some okay melee attack and good AP value, so if they can get into combat, they can do some work. But normally, the Knights of the Realm would do much better here, but being shot by the Fire Glaives in the side, it's going to be very devastating for them. So Bretonnia's still trying to break through in the middle. We do see the Grail Relique and another big shot. Oh, God. It's going to be Gotham's Reckoning, baby. Here comes the Dreadquake Mortar, and 1, a 2, and a 3, and there it goes. Big pounding shot. Oh, my God. See, that's what we signed up for with the Dreadquake Mortar. That when you pay $2,300, you wanted to be doing that kind of stuff. But the thing is, a lot of factions will just bring terrible infantry against Chaos Dwarves in general, so it becomes kind of redundant. But Bretonnia will often bring battle pilgrims just for capture weight and or foot squires because it's hard to rely on just the peasants. So yeah, that's why I think the Dreadquake Mortar can be kind of viable here. So Foghorn's on the way. He's getting chased by the two paladins, but he's got those robo dwarf legs, and his super overpowered body is going to be quite durable. His physical resist right now, he hasn't taken much, so probably only 5%, but the Enchantress overextends, and Foghorn's like, wait a second, why am I running? And he turns around and basically just, bonks her on the head a couple times with his hammer. And she's going to be running, most likely going to be getting unsummoned. We'll have to see another Flamestorm going down from Astragoth. And now we summon in the Hashid Stark Ravagers. So Hashid Stark Ravagers are really good. They are an anti-infantry variant, but do have throwing axes, which can be used against Bretonian heavy cavalry. They can certainly bring quite a bit to the table. Now, as far as objectives go, we still haven't been able to capture all the objectives yet, despite being pretty substantially ahead on value. Although with healing being taken into account, it's probably like a 1,500 value lead. In the middle, we do get our Chaos Dwarf blunderbusses taken down, the Infernal Guard Fire Glaives trying to rip some shots here and re-secure the middle. This side's looking pretty good for us. We just have a couple Orc Laborers and Goblin Laborers, which would actually take a bit of effort to remove. Like some Knights of the Realm, not Knights of the Realm, but Knights Errant, like Lance charging into them could probably buckle them in a couple seconds, but you might need like 2 Knights and some infantry as well. So Grail Relique getting taken out by the Bull Centaur Renders. Over here, Astragoth going to be pulling back to the middle. The two Paladins going to be going to shut down the Dreadquake Mortar, but it's already kind of done its thing. Looking at the value, the Dreadquake Mortar has gotten about 1,800, which really isn't bad. Does miss a shot right there. It's had some good shots this game, and the cool thing about the Dreadquake is you can unsummon it and get a refund in domination mode, so even if it doesn't pay for itself, you're still getting a refund, and it's something your opponent has to worry about, right? So Bull Centaur Render's going to come back and try and peel off the Paladins, and Foghorn's going to come over as well. Astragoth with the Black Hammer of Hashit, which is super good. It imbues Flammable, gives a big damage buff. It's certainly one of the better activatable items in the game. I wish more like items were that impactful. In the center, it's Dreadquake in time. We Dreadquaked the companions, lowering their speed by 60%, and they're taking that damage over time effect from the aura. They will be able to get in, of course, and they're going to be heading this way, but Henri Le Massif getting smashed a little bit by the Bull Centaur Renders, and looking across the battlefield, the side objective under the control of the Chaos Dwarves, but we still haven't gotten the other two, which was a little bit stressful. I was like, oh man, I felt like I was really far ahead, but I still couldn't get the objectives, and that kind of is an issue with Chaos Dwarves at times. I've seen them lose a lot of games that way. Granted, I still think Chaos Dwarves are easily a top 5 faction. Very strong. But yeah, it can happen to you sometimes where you struggle to get the captures in the late game here. Chaos Dwarf Warriors going to be swarming up. These guys do have the full 5 capture weight. The labor units are also currently bugged, so they have good capture weight as well. It's classic stuff. It's going to be interesting to see when they fix a lot of the bugs with Chaos Dwarves, like they, adjust magma cannons perhaps, make Bull Centaur Renders have proper hitboxes. Like they currently are sitting at, I think, a 59 or 60% win rate, which is good, but it's not as good as like Norska, for example. I think Bretonnia has a higher win rate. There's like several other. It's the meta is very different now, obviously, with Hellstriders being nerfed. The dogs have been let out. So Hobo Goblins, using them. I thought the Paladin was going to be close to routing here, or Henri Le Massif, so we move in. We do have the Infernal Guard Fire Glaives fighting up in the point, and here comes the shot from downtown. Oh yes, baby, give it to us. Give us that sweet explosion sound. Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Foot Squires definitely will be retreating after that. That is not fun for them at all. And it's so righteous when you can make like the big Haggard centerpiece DLC units work. Like oftentimes they're just not like used in competitive play, like the Destroyer and the Dreadquake Mortar. But honestly, I've used this same Dreadquake build against several really top tier players, and it's been pretty effective so far. But it's only if it's on Itza. Like on bigger maps, I find that they can maneuver around it a little bit easier, and your army can be pulled apart by their cavalry. So it's more of like a close quarters combat tech, I would say. Over here, we do have some men-at-arms fighting, and the Orc Labor should be able to take them. Men-at-arms obviously have bad capture weight. It's going to be some more men-at-arms coming in, but the backfight, pretty scary. We do lose the Dreadquake Mortar, but it has gotten about 500 kills for Hashit, and that's going to be 2,300 value, so it actually paid for itself, which is quite good. Foghorn Leghorn beating down these Paladins here, but a little bit surrounded by the Companions, and the Companions actually did some nasty work when they got in. They are anti-large armor-piercing fighters, and they got 2,300 value fighting against Bull Centaurs, Foghorn. Definitely not bad at all. Blunderbusses shut offline. Middle objective is under our control, and the top objective is going to be incredibly tough for Bretonnia to get back. We do have the Chaos Dwarf Warriors fighting here, and on top of that, we do also have Infernal Guard Fireglaves, which were summoned in. So using what value lead we did have before to get these bad boys. But honestly, Hadri's is pretty much equalized to value. It's 10 to 8.3, but with the healing from the Fey Enchantress, I would imagine he's been healing some stuff. It's probably not that big of a difference. So very, very scrappy stuff here, as he was behind by like 3,000 or 4,000, but that often happens when you're advancing against a gun faction. Like if I'm coming in with blunderbusses and fireglaves, yeah, you're going to fall behind instantly on the approach, but then you grind your way back once you get into melee, which is pretty cool. Like if the Fey Enchantress hadn't been gooned so hard early, like I think this could have been a much, much scarier situation. So Chaos Dwarf Warriors, they are crumping, and these poor Spearmen at Arms certainly not going to have a good time. Why are they on fire? Oh, the fireglaves are probably shooting them. Okay. Trebuchets, I do like the Trebuchet pick. I can see 2 Trebuchets being kind of standard, although Magma Cannons would be able to wreck the Trebuchets. But on this map, Hadri's was able to kind of hide them in good position, so I wasn't able to do that. Chases off my Hobo Goblins, and it looks like there's going to be Men-at-Arm Polearms and Men-at-Arms moving in this way. And the middle objective is just a couple tattered Foot Squires and whatnot. The Goblin Laborers and Foghorn should be able to hold that one. Over on this side, looking a little bit scary. But the Bull Centaur Renders, the Hashit Stark Ravagers, will probably be able to tear apart most of these peasants with the support of the Hobo Goblins to chase down the Peasant Mobs. Malign Authority, of course, active, so that's going to be giving +8 leadership to the Hobo Goblins. And yeah, obviously most of these Bretonnian units don't have a ton of capture weight. Up on the high ground, looking like we're going to be able to hold it most likely. We do have the full capture weight units, although with the Fey Enchantress moving in and Henri Le Massif, the Mortis Engine is now in effect. Could be a little bit scary, but I think the Bull Centaur Renders probably will break the back of this position. Although, I don't know. Men-at-Arm Polearms are on the way in. Yeah, that could be a little bit scary. We'll have to see how this goes down. Nice Earthblood from the Fey Enchantress. Here comes the Bull Centaurs fighting with their halberd gun boys. Bull Centaurs, even with the great weapons, they crump through most of what they hit. Bull Centaurs are an insanely strong unit, definitely a little bit too strong. Here, Infernal Guard Fireglaves are pushed back. Foot Squires and company doing their thing. Spearmen up on the middle point. We do own that one as far as the side objective. It is under our control. It looks like the Hashit Stark Ravagers were able to come in and crump most of the Bretonnian units. We do also have the capture weight from the Hobo Goblins, and I do not think Bretonnia is going to be able to wrestle that one back. Foghorn Leghorn working in the middle. More blunderbusses on the way out, figuring they can just kind of mow down any of these Bretonnian chaff units here. And the high ground fight looking pretty good for us. There is going to be some Knights of the Realm coming out. Knights of the Realm will be, quite functional against the Bull Centaurs and open field fighting. But, battling against the Infernal Guard Fireglaive stacked with them is going to make it a very, very hard fight as the Chaos Dwarf Warriors break the back of these units. And, yeah, showing the resilience of their Dowie cousins for sure. As the Bull Centaur Renders get a nice charge in there. Fey Enchantress probably going to go down, and that probably will be the beginning of the end, as the blunderbusses are going to be able to move in. This objective looks like it's going to be a win for Hashit, as the Bretonnians do get routed off this point, and GG well played. So, yeah, the Dreadquake Mortar was actually pretty good, but Foghorn probably carried that game. He's just really, really strong, and he put a lot of hurt on. Yeah, 3,000 value. Obviously, blunderbusses, some of them got shut down. A couple of them almost paid for themselves. Fireglaves are really good. But the blunderbusses are tanky. They kind of work as your infantry in this. And the Dreadquake 2,300, Bull Centaur Renders, crazy good value too. But these ones, I don't think they quite paid for themselves. A little bit. Yeah, I think they just barely did. These guys certainly did as well. And I did like the Chaos Dwarf infantry. Yeah, as far as that matchup goes, interestingly enough, on Total Tavern, it's been one that's been kind of 50-50. Bretonnia's been able to beat the Chaos Dwarfs. And I do think if the Fey Enchantress had, and that's even including like Chaos Dwarfs having like, my build probably wasn't the most optimized build, but that's including Chaos Dwarfs having like some overpowered and like bugged units. But Total War's always sadly been that way. It's kind of like we just get the scraps and we endure, but we have a good time. But yeah, I liked it. I think what I would adjust for Bretonnia is like cutting some of the elite units out of the gates and just going like less battle pilgrims and more cheap units, and then getting maybe I don't know, yeah, spending the extra resources on like some cav out of the gates or something. Maybe a couple couldn't hurt. But yeah, even still, there's some schemes in this one for sure. Dwellers Below is obviously an option. You can use that against the very slow Chaos Dwarf guns to kind of melt them. Chalice of Potions, a lot of ideas. I really like the Trebuchet though. Look at that, 1,600 value on that thing. So maybe like 2 Trebs could be cool too. I would like to see some replays of the Bretonnian players. Like the true Bretonnian has been beating Chaos Dwarfs with Bretonnia. Like even with the sweatiest Bull Centaur Astrogoth kind of style. I'd be really curious to see how he does that for sure. You can, if you're playing Chaos Dwarfs too, if you want to make this build better, you probably go double Fireglaive with Laborers, a Bull Centaur, and then go double Magma Cannon. Magma Cannons will... You could get 2 Magma Cannons for this price, and they would have done way more damage and would have just been better. But at least it shows that the Dreadquake can be impactful and devastating, but Magma's like double Magma, I think, would always just be more cost-effective. Anyways, GG well played. See you guys on the other side. That's it for today, and yeah, take care of yourself.